Yar, welcome to me workshop, matey. Yeah, my pirate's pretty crap. Anyway, today we are painting pirate orcs. Anyway, this is one of the, let's see, this is one of the boys from my Freebooter kill team. Pretty old, actually. I'm doing a re-upload of the video to kind of make an illusion that I work hard. So this is the re-upload from my gaming channel. So I decided to kind of shift things and create a separate channel for my hobby. So here it is. It's fairly old, but hopefully it'll be interesting to you. So, on to painting.
So here they are, all assembled, glued together and washed. As you can see, I've added some conversion bits. I purchased a few heads and torsos online. They are bits from the company called Spellcrow. If you're interested, I'll leave the link down below to the shop. Maybe you'll find something interesting. I basically wanted to enhance the theme of the space pirates, so I got those heads and torsos, and I think they add the character to the orcs. One thing to note, please don't mind my gnarly hands. I know that they're not the nicest things to look at. I've completely forgot about the gloves. I'll wear them next time. So, just a quick look at all the boys here. Looking quite interesting. Another thing to remember, if you get those torsos, you'll have to get special arms for the shooters. Or if you're a green stuff whiz, you can assemble them with the original shooters. So, I started painting my fungoid privateers by priming them with Badge Style and Res Black Primer. As you can see, I'm going in quite close. The reason for that is to kind of get used to the range, scale, and, you know, the airbrushing as well. So, you know, it's a bit of a practice before I get into using colors, you know, in the airbrush. So next step is doing a zenithal highlight with white ink and flow improver. Actually, using this ink will bite me in the ass later, but I'll show you when it happens. So yeah, 45 degrees angle with extra highlight to the face to make it more of a focal point. So, boreal green, yeah, that's the color. It will be our first color for the skin. I decided to focus on skin because generally, you know, orcs have a lot of skin, so that's basically the main focal point. So I added a thinner and a flow improver to get a fairly decent mix, and I started, you know, just spraying the skin at a fairly close range as well, just paying attention, you know, to the pressure, not to, you know, do any spidering. So yeah, that's how it looks like. Yeah, getting there slowly. You know, yeah, dropping the mini as well, because why not? I keep forgetting about the fact that I've got corks, that I can actually mount my guys on the corks, which is easier to paint. Well, hey, sometimes, you know, I get a bit overzealous with painting. So yeah, field grey to create our first highlight. Boreal green is a bit too vibrant for me. It's an amazing color, but I thought about kind of muting the skin a little bit. So I went with a bit more sort of muted, earthy, a bit earthy color. So very thin layer, and I started highlighting, leaving boreal green in the darkest part of the mini. Yeah, at this point I'm just, you know, playing around with stuff. I would consider myself a bit of a average painter, but I think hopefully you'll find something useful and interesting from this video. And there we go. A nice first highlight with an amazing cinematography that focuses on my even more amazing thumb. Anyways, yep. Just a couple of layers, you know, trying to control the airbrush so no spidering. So yeah, field grey and soul yellow in 1:1 ratio to create a really nice light green. As usual, some flow improver and thinner. Yeah, this looks really nice. I really like that color. So yeah, I actually recently started mixing colors, because here I decided to focus on mainly on scale 75 paints, because I kind of recently started transferring, and they are a bit different compared to the other paints. So I thought, yeah, I'll paint with them and see how they work. So yeah, another highlight is done. White sands to add it to the mix to create basically a lighter version of the previous color to do a final highlight. Just getting the ratio fairly okay. Yeah, my airbrush needs cleaning actually. So going okay, but yeah, it'll clog up fairly soon. Well, actually, you know, I'm recording the voiceover a lot later. Oh yeah, basic flesh tone from scale 75. This is a trick I picked up from Rob Paint's models, if I remember correctly. So he adds flesh tone to most raised areas like shoulders, elbows, knuckles, to give them a little bit more realism, to show that there are sort of veins underneath the skin. So just a very few highlights here, elbows, shoulders, and the face. It really adds to the skin, I think, and it's an awesome little trick. And with that, the skin should be done. And that's how the whole band looks after, you know, getting the skin job. Yeah. And with that, actually, our airbrush step is over. I am going to switch to brushes and fill out the rest of the colors with brushes. You know, I'm fairly confident with the airbrush. Obviously, far from being amazing, or fairly good, to be perfectly honest. But I try to mix, you know, my techniques or tools effectively. So a little bit of airbrush, a little bit of brush, just to basically improve the techniques, improve the, you know, the hobby skills. So yeah, actually this one is probably my favorite. No, the guy with the big shooter is actually the better. Right, so brown leather and Mars orange, 1:1 ratio to create, you know, a base color for our leather. So I'm going with a sort of a quick quick techniques for like a really worn leather. So a tricorn hat for the captain, the boss captain. Obviously the vest and a backpack for the shooter boy. Big shooter boy, yeah. He has a big shooter. I'm adding 2, sometimes 3 layers to get a really nice opaque, you know, color. Even, basically an even coat. And the pipe, of course, yeah, important. And the other bits that I block in with that color are boots, belts, and all the straps. And also 2 or 3 layers, depends on the coverage really, and the effect that I want to get. So yeah, all the leather bits, yeah, are basically covered with that color. I'm trying to be fairly accurate. I don't mind the, you know, the occasional mistakes because they do happen. As you can see, there's a big blob. Oh yeah, and the eye patch as well. Yeah, I'll block in all the eye patches with that color as well because effectively they are leather. So I'm trying to avoid the mistakes, but obviously it's really tricky to avoid them. And that's Graphen Grey for the pants. Also 2 or 3 layers to get a really nice, even layer. I actually have to say that I still have some problems, you know, diluting the paint and getting used to the gel medium that they use. It's a little bit different than the other paints. Oh, hey. Oh yeah, gloves as well. Actually, all of the orcs have fingerless gloves, but somehow I actually haven't noticed that, so you'll see that some of the war orcs will have their fingers painted, but I suppose we can wing them. Wing it, effectively. So yeah, all the straps as well, and the pants for the more snob captain. And obviously the strap for the big shooter will be sort of a black leather. Yeah, I really like the matte finish of the Scale 75 paints. Antares Red for all the bandanas, scarves, etc, etc. And yes, I'm going to paint this orc's ear by accident, but I'll fix it up later. Also 2 or 3 layers to get a nice even layer. I'm actually pretty, you know, amazed by this color. It covers really well, and it's very vibrant. Obviously, I haven't tried it on black, and I'd imagine it will be pretty tricky. But I really like the vibrancy of the color. Even though it's matte, it's really vibrant. So that's probably my favorite red out of all the ranges I've tried. I haven't tried very many, to be honest. And also the captain's... Is that a tabard? Crotch cloth? I don't know. This thing that I'm painting right here. Right. Back to brown leather to paint all the teeth. The currency of orcs. And also I am going to paint the inside of the mouth, all the tongues, gums, etc, etc. And navy blue for the vests, you know, a fitting color. And this is where the disaster struck. You may not see it here, but basically the ink that I used started coming off in flakes. So I had to very carefully lock in the color layer by layer, and then unfortunately I lost the transition from the ink. I wanted to keep it because it was a large surface, so hey, such is life, you know. Live and learn. A birch and makeup brush for dry brushing. We are going to dry brush the leather bits and the pants. I'm going for a heavy dry brush. The thing is, makeup brush picks out mold lines, and I did pick up quite a few. Yeah, I obviously dropped the brush because I haven't cleaned it properly, unfortunately. There's also another sin that I'm guilty of. But yeah, as I said, I'm going for a heavy dry brush because my final look is going to be sort of a really worn leather. It's like, you know, pieces of leather clothing that were heavily used and were never maintained. So It's quite a heavy dry brush, but we'll cover that with inks, so it'll, you know, dull it down a little bit. Obviously, the hat, the vest, yeah, all the leather bits on every model will get the dry brush treatment. I have to say that makeup brushes are the best for dry brushing. But one thing to note, use your own, not your girlfriend's, wife's, mum's, whatever, because otherwise there's going to be hell to pay. Yeah, there you go, that's the dry brush done. I need to get a better handle for that brush, because it keeps coming off. There you go. Some extra dry brushing, I think, yep. Just to get a bit more. Now, I'm going a bit crazy with the dry brush, but yeah. The overall effect will look pretty interesting, I think. Oh yeah, the backpack as well, and the strap. Trying to obviously avoid the other areas, not to get a dry brush on them. Inks. Black, blue, and brown, or sepia. And we start sepia, and we start blocking in all the brown leather bits. I'm going for quite a heavy coat. You can go a lot lighter if you don't want to have, you know, that much of a kind of difference in, you know, in tones. But yeah, you can dilute it and go a lot lighter. I'm just taking it straight out of, not straight out of the bottle, but I put it on my wet palette. So it's a little bit diluted, but not much. Yeah, apply to all the, you know, all the leather bits, eye patches, boots, straps. And the black ink for the pants. You basically, you know, just tone down that heavy dry brush that I've done before. And yeah, obviously the hat on the boss knob captain. Well, technically he's not the captain because I'm actually using Flashgate, and I'm using Flashgate's captain as my leader. So this guy is bosun, I suppose. I don't know. If you have an idea for the role for this guy, he's my combat specialist, by the way. But in terms of the pirate terms, let me know which role he could fill in. Oh yeah, and a backpack for the big shooter boy. Oh yeah, and the pants, must not forget about the pants. I think I missed a couple of gloves, if I remember correctly. It happens. But I basically try to fix, you know, things that I miss. But you'll see some things missing every now and again. And the basic flesh tone for our final dry brush on all the brown and black bits. This time I'm going a lot lighter, so I actually put the paint on my wet palette. And then I dry brushed, you know, a lot lighter, so it will basically be a lot smoother, a lot more delicate, and I think it will be a fairly nice finish for the, you know, all the leather bits. Yeah, this time I'm not using the handle, and it's actually a lot better than before. I think I dropped it like 2 or 3 times, if I remember correctly. Yeah, there we go. Clumsy. And obviously the vest as well. Vest and a tripod hot. This actually sped up the whole process quite quickly because I actually covered pretty much, what, 75% of the orc with that. Obviously paying attention to the skin. Although if you get a little bit of a dry brush here and there, it's not a big deal because we're using fairly similar colors. Okay, now, so some highlights to the vests. Having sort of no idea what to do, I actually grabbed another makeup brush and I started doing this, you know, dabbing motion on the vests, using various mixes of, I think there was white sands and navy blue, just to get sort of a bit of a texture and a bit of a highlight, so that I'm not gonna have, you know, like a flat texture, because it's kind of boring. And it actually turned out pretty okay. When it was like dried, it kind of reminded me a bit of a suede of sorts. If you have a chance, try it. No, white sands for... oh yeah, the teeth. If you have a chance, try it and see how it looks like. Maybe, you know, you'll find a use for it. Certainly will experiment with it. Yeah, just blocking with a, you know, 1 or 2 layers. All the teeth. Now, light skin and red for the insides of the mouth, or the tongues. That creates a really nice kind of pinkish color. And I fixed up the tooth that I painted. Black metal! It's time to start with, you know, the metal bits as the kind of the last bit of painting the minis. So I start with toe caps, then buckles, obviously, but on the straps, not on the main belt. That's going to be a different color. Some of the bracelets, bangles, I don't know how to call them. And choppers and sluggers will get black metal treatment as well. The 2 or 3 layers, obviously, for, you know, quite thin, to get a nice layer. And that's a tooth, so I'm actually going to paint it the right color at some point. I just painted it here in metal by mistake. That happens. I mean, sometimes if you're, you know, in the zone, you forget about certain things, and then you need to kind of have to take a step back, look at the minis, and you know, see some of the mistakes that might or may not happen. And a big shooter as well. I had this buckle on the backpack and the big shooter as well. Now, silver, if I remember correctly, that was silver. Not exactly a dry brush, but I'm using a sponge, and I'm sort of gently dabbing the lighter color to kind of create a slightly different texture. I'll say a little bit more sort of uneven. I would say it produces a slightly different result to the, you know, just your classic dry brush. And obviously the big shooter as well. Now gold for all the belt buckles and jewelry. So to get a little bit of differentiation in metallics. Oh yeah, and obviously the buttons on the vests. 2 layers is quite enough to kind of get a really, really nice coat. But yeah, Vallejo color metallics are great. So now it's gold, copper and steel to paint the bullets. So we're gonna use gold to paint all the bullet casings. the one that he holds in his hands, and the ones that obviously are hanging from his backpack. Then the actual bullets will be painted in copper, and the, I don't know what the chain bit is called, will be painted in steel. And that's how the whole band looks after painting. I also painted their eyes orange. I did it off screen because I couldn't get, you know, the right angle, so I thought, yeah, I'll do it off screen basically. And I touched up some of the mistakes that happened during the painting process. Yeah, with the eyes I had to get in quite close, and with the current setup that I have, or I had at the time, I couldn't get, you know, the right, either the right angle or the camera or the phone that I'm recording with was in the way. So yeah, I have to say they're looking quite interesting. So yeah, now what's left is the wash stage and the, oh yeah, and I forgot the armband. I'll fix it up later. So yeah. Wash stage and obviously the bases as well. I actually really like that vest. It's really cool. Actually, one of my friends told me that after finishing they looked like leather vests, which is also pretty cool as well. But I would like to kind of experiment with a technique that kind of mimics suede, because I would really like my captain to have a sick purple suede coat. I think that's pretty awesome, and it matches flash kits really well. So, Vallejo Mega matte primer, not matte varnish, sorry, not primer, varnish. I decided to varnish the minis before applying the wash. It's not necessary. You can apply oil washes, because I use oil washes. You can apply them straight on acrylics, but that white ink got me worried for some reason. So I thought, better safe than sorry. So, yeah, I just varnished them. My varnish may not be the kind of the best varnish for washers, but it worked pretty well. So we've got Prussian blue, black, magenta, and brown to do all the washes. So I started with magenta, and that's going to be a wash for our skin. Really unusual, but it actually creates a really nice effect. So I also add a little bit of black to make it a bit darker, because I felt that it was a little bit too light. So I try it out, and it actually is a little bit too light for my taste. So I'll add a bit more black, spill half the wash, because I'm a clumsy, you know, clumsy dude. And now it actually looks a lot better. So I'll apply quite a heavy wash to all the skin areas. Don't worry, we'll remove a lot of it later. And, well, you'll see the result. Or if you experimented with oil washes, you pretty much know what you can expect. I also do the inside of the mouth, so it will basically create a really, really nice effect together with all the, you know, all the sort of pinky bits. And it will create a really nice effect on the skin. Now, blue for the vests, with a bit of black, kind of darken it a little bit. The wash will be very subtle because it's not very different to the darkest, you know, parts of the vest, but hey. Oh yeah, and a black wash for all the metal bits, all the guns, bullets, choppers, sluggers, all the killy bits, yeah. And brown wash for all the leather bits, yeah. Black wash for all the black leather, like pants and straps, and brown wash for, you know, boots, etc, etc. So now, cleaning process. I kind of cheated a little bit, because, you know, there are two steps to the process. You use Q-tip. First you use dry, and then the second part, which is what I'm using here, is basically a Q-tip dipped in white spirit or mineral spirits. It's fairly dry. I remove a lot of it to make sure that it doesn't pool in the recesses, because I don't want to you know, reactivate the wash that it's in the recesses and kind of, you know, push it out of the areas that I want it to be. So very, very, well, it's damp. It's not wet, it's damp, so I just remove and smudge the, basically the oil paint on the raised surfaces of the mini. So that's grime wash from Soilworks. I decided to basically do a second wash to all the metal bits because I didn't like the original black wash. I thought it needed a bit more oomph, so I decided to go with another wash. And it dried for bloody ages. I think I waited for like 2 or 3 days before it kind of stopped, you know, kind of being damp, effectively. But to be honest, I felt like I needed a bit of a break, so I painted some other models in the meantime. And boom! New angle! I got a holder for my phone from in the meantime, and now I'm doing bases. I wanted to go for a bit of a kind of marine theme, so I'm gluing some stones, pieces of wooden coffee mixers, and pieces of twine to the base to basically get some extra details, sort of a marine variety of sorts. And Lustrian Undergrowth texture paint to fill all the, you know, bits in between. I got some of the, you know, the paint on the boots and on the other bits on the base, like stones and wood, but that's no problem. Basically, the idea is that they kind of walk in a kind of muddy area, so everything is you know, covered in mud, including, you know, their garments. Yeah, filling it up all as nice as I can. And now army painter washes. So I'm using black, mild brown and blue for the wood, just to kind of sell the effects of the rotten wood, and mild brown to the twine and the stone as well, to kind of tie it together. And now, strong tone. And now I'm going to basically douse the whole base, including all the stones, twine, and wood. Just one universal, you know, coat of the wash to everything. Just to tie everything together. And now the dry brush stage, so brown, leather, and I think that was birch. So first it's the mix 1:1 ratio. First dry brush, just basically dry brush everything, the whole base. And then the second dry brush will be with birch on its own. And matte black for the finishing step, painting the bases. But don't be a turnip like me and don't use it straight from the bottle. And with that step, they are pretty much done.